Now, everybody knows you got to be able to assess a deal when you are getting into the real estate space. Why? For obvious reasons. It's one of the only things that is going to protect you as a real estate investor. Now, again, if you guys see my eyes all over the place, it's because we're on a bunch of different platforms. So I don't know right away who's saying what where, but it'll all come to me very, very quickly. So we'll make sure I try to address any other questions that come about. TikTok, this is our new page. So we're building that up. So if you guys can, if you guys come in here and you like what you hear, feel free to go ahead and share the room. And I believe we are good to go. All right. My name is Otis James. I'm a full-time real estate investor out of the San Francisco Bay Area. We are early. I'm about 3 minutes early. So my invites haven't gone out yet, but it's all right. It's just a few of us. I'm a full-time real estate investor, which means I prioritize that. I'm a licensed real estate broker in California and in Georgia. I spent the better part of 20 years in the multifamily commercial industry on the operations side. I had a national notary signing agent company. On the non-real estate side, I took $585 one day, created a company that went on to generate seven figures in the short time that I had it. I'm a long-term hold investor, a value add investor, meaning I look at properties that I can make worth more than I buy them for, and then I leverage that new value to buy more properties or to reinvest into the 4 Data Points Academy. 4 Data Points Academy is a real estate investing training platform. It is the only one that doesn't have an end date. We've been around officially about 5 years, but really, really active probably in the last 3.5 years. We take people with zero knowledge. They stay on with us until they no longer need to be. And one of the things that we teach them is how to fill their pipeline. When I say fill your pipeline, I'm referring to continuous conversations coming in so you can structure something creatively, or you can acquire real estate and attach it to your portfolio, right? The goal is to expand our portfolio. So we've got to find some off-market deals. Now, understand that just because you can structure a deal creatively or you can get people to work with you on some of these deals doesn't mean it's always going to pan out. And I always say, just because something is possible doesn't mean it's likely. So what happens is I'm seeing people get creative in their marketing when they're teaching people how to invest in real estate. And what they're doing is they're putting all the next to impossible scenarios up there, which actually work, but without teaching people all of the things that have to be in alignment to bring some of those things to fruition, it's not really attainable for the average person. So we need to talk about what is attainable for the average person. So, $5,000, $10,000 extra a month starting out is more reasonable. Then you have to build on that. And in order to build on that, you're going to have to continue to have people in your pipeline. Well, how do you do that? So I'll take you through all of the ways that wholesalers are finding deals, ways that I teach people to find deals and set up those conversations so you get the opportunity to structure something creative. Okay. Now, the first scenario that I want to get into when we start talking about strategies is what structuring creative means. And that's when you start seeing all the clickbait stuff all over the internet. Hey, I can teach you how to buy a house for $1, or I can teach you how to buy a house for, $50 or whatever it is. What they're talking about is paying out of your exit strategy. That means buying a piece of real estate, getting your name on the deed before you have to pay for it so you can borrow against it to improve it. And then once you improve it, you take that value, you leverage it to pay off all the existing debt. In order for that to work, you've got to be able to ask these 4 questions. What does it cost? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? If you cannot answer or ask and answer those questions, that's the stop point. Don't do any real estate investing until you can. The reason why I'm so adamant about that is because people get into a lot of real estate situations that they can't get out of. And it costs significantly if you find yourself in that situation. So you've got to know if you're going to be able to exit a situation before you enter a situation. And you do that by asking and answering those 4 questions. What does it cost? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? Now, you guys on TikTok, if you text the word now to that phone number above my head, I'll make sure I'll respond with the download link for you guys to download it. You guys on Clubhouse and the other platforms, I'm easy to find. Clubhouse, you have the link right up top. if you guys want to download. But looking at the few of y'all that are down there, I'm pretty sure you guys already have it. You've been following me some time already. All right. So now let's get into all the different ways, and I'm going to break it down into categories. Most of you guys are familiar, and this is the introverts. This is where they have a hard time because people that don't like interacting with other people don't really like the direct to seller stuff. All right. So there's six. When you start talking about direct to seller, there's six ways we do that. One is driving for dollars. That's where we identify distressed properties while driving neighborhoods. Typically, we do this when we're running errands. If I see a property that looks like it doesn't want to be kept, I always keep, well, I mentor 350 people, so I've always got to be reachable. So I always have a laptop, an iPad, and two cell phones, close by. And when I'm driving for dollars and I see what looks like a distressed property, I go ahead, get the address, and then I start running the 4 data points on it. Right? What does it cost, or what am I willing to pay? What's it going to cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? I can typically answer those questions, sitting out in front of the house. But driving for dollars is going to be your number one direct to seller marketing. Something that's a little more attainable, a little easier is direct mail campaigns. And a lot of people don't really understand how important that is because they'll take some education, they'll learn how to invest in real estate, but they don't take any training as far as what it takes to set up a real estate investing business. Now, unless you want to be active for the rest of your life, and that is, you can't be active and then have, a mailbox of money conversation, at the same time. In order for you not to be active at some point, you're going to have to put people in place to run every aspect of the real estate investing business for you. So direct to seller marketing is one of those things. Direct mail campaigns, I use PropStream. I can go into PropStream right now. Somebody could put in a city. I can go into PropStream right now and have postcards out to everybody in one particular scenario in less than a minute. All right. And then we have to have a system to be able to support any communication. So the 6 direct to seller marketing, we're driving for dollars, direct mail campaigns, door knocking, cold calling, text blasts, ringless voicemail drops. Now they have the technology where you can kind of distance yourself from the process. But those are the 6 direct to seller marketing avenues that you're going to have to consider when starting your real estate investing business. Now, remember, a lot of people talk about getting into wholesaling, and I get that question a lot. What do you think about wholesaling? I think wholesaling is a skill that every real estate investor should have because you're not going to be able to take down every deal. And the ones you don't, you should be able to wholesale to somebody else. So the educational component for wholesaling, I'm a proponent for, definitely, but not as kind of a career because you got to understand who you're competing with when you are getting into the wholesale space. A lot of these companies are spending $30,000 to $50,000 a month in marketing. They have their systems dialed in. They're making, 700-800 phone calls an hour. Just ridiculous. That's who you're competing with. But it's a skill worth having because you are going to have to use it eventually. Now, that's direct to seller. Then you have networking and relationships. So when you really get heavy into the real estate investing space, it's not about what you know. It's not about who you know. It's about who knows what you do, right? So you want to let as many people know what you do as possible. You want to have relationships with wholesalers, relationships with real estate attorneys, with probate leads, code enforcement officers, contractors, handymen, property managers, HOA contacts, estate sale companies, title reps. Have a marketing plan in a particular area to reach out to all of those folks. I would put them in my CRM and just do a monthly drip campaign to those contacts, right? Just letting them know you're still in the business. All right. Any questions about that? It's pretty dry material at this point. All right. So for those folks that just came in, we're talking about how to find off-market deals. We went over the direct to seller marketing. That's typically what folks are doing. They're going into PropStream, REI Pro, batch leads, is doing some type of list creation and then marketing to that list. But direct to seller includes all of the technology involved, text message blasts, ringless voicemail drops, door knocking, cold calling, all that stuff. So if you're an introvert, you're probably going to shy away from that. Networking and relationships, have people on your team in a particular area that you can communicate with. Right now, I can go into my inbox. There's probably 15 or 20 deals in there. Now, true, most of them are probably trash deals, but they're in there. And that's because people know who I am and what I do, All right. So make sure you're developing those relationships with wholesalers. Make sure you've got these real estate attorneys on your drip campaign. Make sure when you're gathering probate leads or contact information for code enforcement officers and contractors and handymen, you got to have some type of CRM to be able to organize all these contacts so you can reach out to them and fill your pipeline. All right. HOA contacts, estate sales companies, title reps, you folks that are realtors, basically everybody in the process. Now, so what do you do next? Because it's not something that you just do one of and wait. You should always be marketing, and you should have a plan to be able to reach all of these different contacts and organize that information and be able to create lists and categorize them and all of that good information that CRMs do. You should be able to do that for your business. In order for that to be successful, you got to have a repeatable process for filling your pipeline. So what I would do is put a marketing plan together. I would put it in writing so you could hand it to somebody. So when you finally step away, they can do all this stuff. They already have the communication. They can reach out to all these folks, and you can have a system that filters to where by the time it gets to you, you've already ruled out all the trash ones. All right. Now, landlord outreach. I always say, if you're trying to fill your pipeline, find landlords that probably don't want to be landlords anymore. All right. Eviction court records. You can contact landlords who recently filed evictions. Rental listing scraping. Reach out to landlords with long-term vacant units. For rent by owner? Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace are perfect avenues to be able to reach some of these guys that are trying to lease it out themselves without a property manager. Tired landlord list. That's the absentee owners with long ownership history. You can do that in PropStream. But those are the 4 basic places that I would look for. You may want to add Section 8 on there. A lot of Section 8 landlords don't want to be landlords anymore. I know, because I've been one of them many a times, right? But there's a lot of different ways to be able to reach out to people that could help you during this process. All right. Now, remember, you're filling your pipeline. You don't know which one of these is going to work, right? Only one has to hit to make it worth it. All right. So direct to seller, driving for dollars, direct mail campaigns, door knocking, cold calling, all that stuff. All right. Networking and relationships. This is mandatory for your real estate investing business anyway. Every wholesaler you meet, get their information. Every real estate attorney, get their information. Probate leads, code enforcement officers, contractors, handymen, anybody in the business, get their information. Because even if you can't work with them directly, you can build that relationship by sending them referrals. If you send them their referrals, they'll send you referrals. Landlord outreach, reach out to people that don't want to be landlords anymore. Eviction court records, rental listings, right? Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. Those are all people that are advertising, all landlords. All right. Ultimately, you got to have a list. And you guys heard me talk about before, what are the 12 things that your real estate investing world, what does it look like? Like if you had to jump into it tomorrow, what is the absolute bare minimum that you would need to be able to run your real estate investing business? Now, one of those things, I put them in groups of 4, 3 different groups. The first group is just the 4 questions, 4 data points. You got to be able to assess a deal. The next group is the documents that we typically use, right? You just got to know what they do. A purchase agreement, if you're going to put offers on property, a promissory note, if there's going to be any seller financing, a security instrument to enforce the note, and a deed. It's a transfer document. It's how you transfer real estate from one to another. Those are the 4 documents that we use the most. Now, there's more than those, but those are the basic ones. You got to be able to function with those. And then the last group of 4 is the technology and the tools that we need, the absolute basics. Now, anytime you communicate with the general public, there's got to be a call to action, right? If you're communicating with them, if you already made that connection, if you got their attention, you got to tell them to do something. So a call to action could be, scan this QR code or go to this website or call this number or text this number, whatever it is. You got to work that into your business. Now, in order for you to be able to work that into your business, you got to have an online presence to send them. Now, you could give them a phone number, but that typically doesn't work if you do a mail card campaign. Let me see. Karen, well, it looks like the sound's still good over there. Anybody else on Clubhouse? Can you guys hear me all right? Put a 1 in the chat on Clubhouse if you hear me okay. You never do know with this with this setup here. Put a 1 in the chat on Clubhouse if you can hear me okay. All right. So Joseph says, yep. All right. So Karen, I think that's just you on your side, but that's all right. We're going to get you and my real estate family anyway. So you get all this anyway. All right. So you got to be able to have a system to filter this communication. You got to have an online presence. So out of the 12 things you're going to need, we talked about the 4 data points, that's group 1, the 4 documents, that's group 2. The last group of 3 is the technology that we use. eForms or Rocket Lawyer for our basic forms, rentometer.com to do a rental analysis, right? You got to see how much income you can expect your property to make. A landing page or a website. It can be something cheap, right? Just a landing page or a website. And let me see what I say. eForms or Rocket Lawyer. Oh, PropStream are one of its competitors. I use PropStream because it has the best data set. None of them are perfect, but it has the best data set. So those 4 things are what you're going to need to do. And the reason why I say don't lead with your phone number is because most of these calls, depending on how you're set up and when you're new at this, you may not have all these complicated systems to filter in all of these calls. So if you do a postcard campaign and you send out 300 postcards, somebody may get your postcard and call you on the phone if your number is the dominant thing on that postcard. And those calls typically sound like this. Ring, ring. Hello, this is Otis. Hey, this is Bob Smith. I just got your postcard. I'm over on 123 Main Street. Said you wanted to make me an offer on my property. Yeah, Bob, absolutely. Now, I don't know. I'm driving. I have no access to any of my tools to be able to research this or even have a conversation. So the best case scenario is I can get off the phone and position myself to have a follow-up call. Now, for me, I'll say something like, hey, you know what? You caught me right in the middle of, blah, 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 wherever I'm going. Tell you what, let me pull over. Let me get my information. Are you going to be free in the next 20 minutes or so I can give you a call back? But I have to get off the phone so I can get to a place where I can research and be able to have the call, right? Now, part of the reason, well, that's most of the reason that you want to have a landing page or a website is because if they go to a landing page or website, there should be a contact form. And that contact form is what's going to drive everything else. Once they fill out that contact form, it should have their contact information and the subject property address. Once they click submit, you should have that trigger an email to you. You get an alert, boom, John Smith called, and then whatever other questions you have in there. But I try to keep it as basic as possible. And then you can pull over and say, hey, John, this is Otis James. Just got your submission. Tell you what, let me look into it. I'm on my way home. I should be home in 3 or 4 minutes. Or I could just do it right there. I got the email, I got the address, and when I have the address, I can look up the 4 data points. So I can pull over, pull my iPad out, and start answering those questions. Okay, let me see. What does this cost? So what am I willing to pay? Okay, I don't know yet. What does it cost to fix up? Well, I can make some observations, but I don't know yet. What's it going to be worth when I'm done? Okay, well, I can answer that. What's up, Brandon? Oh, I got to reach out to you too, Brandon. What's it going to be worth when I'm done? Well, I can figure out that. I can just look and see what similar properties in similar shape have sold for in the last 3 to 6 months. How much income can it generate? Okay, well, if I decide to keep it, I can just put that address in Rentometer or give me a rental analysis. Okay, now I can work my way back. Okay, I know what it's going to be worth when I'm done. Now I just got to figure out what am I willing to pay. Well, I got to know what repairs I'm going to have to do to be able to figure that out. So I'll just go ahead and put the address over in Google Maps, see what visuals I can get from the outside, and see what information I can deduce from PropStream, the property details, like age. If the property is 90 years old, I know I'm going to have to do plumbing and electrical, and I can make all of these assumptions, but I can do all of this from the car. And then after we go back and forth, I can establish some rapport, get some more details on the property, see if it's worth pursuing. Then I can do a follow-up call, which should be in person as an appointment. All right. But if I didn't have a landing page or a website to be able to facilitate that conversation, I would have been fumbling, trying to, write stuff down and so on and so forth. I've had people call me on my phone and I didn't save it because I figured I'll just go back in the missed calls and call them back. By the time I got to my destination, I had about 25 other people call me but got buried in there, and then I missed the call and was never able to reach out to that person again. So you want to have a system in place to be able to navigate that type of situation. All right. I'm telling y'all, it's dry material. Finding off market deals is not, it's the side that they don't show you on TikTok and Instagram. You talk about wanting to get discouraged. I had somebody call me and say, look, I looked at 40 deals, and every time I ran these dang 4 data points, none of the deals ended up being deals. I said, yeah, that's the point. That's what it's supposed to be doing. but I do get people's frustration. All right. For you guys that just came in, we talked about the different ways to find off market deals. We're breaking it down into categories. We talked about direct to seller marketing. That's when you're driving for dollars, door knocking, cold calling, sending text messages, direct mail campaigns. We talked about networking and relationships and the people that you need to have in your contact list if you plan on investing in a particular area. Talked about wholesalers, real estate attorneys, probate leads, code enforcement officers, contractors, handymen, property managers, HOA contacts, estate sale companies, title reps. Every time I meet somebody that is a contractor or a handyman, I put them in my phone. I don't care where I am, anywhere in the country, because odds are at some point I will be coming to a city near you. All right, we talked about landlord outreach. Reach out to landlords that don't want to be landlords anymore. So we talked about eviction court records. You can contact landlords who recently filed evictions. Rental listings, scrapings. You can reach out to landlords with long-term vacant units, which is, you should never have a long-term vacant unit. That's a red flag for a landlord that doesn't know how to be a landlord. You can go to for rent by owners. That's typically Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. So why do you do that? Why would you go to the Craigslist and reach out to people that are trying to rent their properties out? And what people don't realize is that's actually one of the best places to be able to find somebody willing to allow you to structure a deal creatively so you can make it may be a win-win for both of you. For example, if you have somebody that is looking for rental income to supplement their retirement, well, they don't want to sell the property because they want to get that continued income, month over month. That's a perfect seller financing scenario. Like, you can set that up to maybe get a seller financing. Once you understand, how to set seller financing up, there's an opportunity right there. So understand when these opportunities come about so you can execute, make contact and execute. And you can structure your communication to be able to support what their objective actually is. In that scenario, it was long-term structured payments. All right. That's why you rent your property out. Well, you can accomplish the same thing with a seller financing situation. So, and then once they're willing to do that, then there's all other types of creative stuff that you can do. But landlord outreach, find landlords that don't want to be landlords anymore. Then we started getting into online data. So list providers, we talked about PropStream, but there's also REI Pro, Batch Leads, Deal Machine. Basically, you go in there, you organize the information, and you create a list to market to. And you can filter out all of the, let's say you want to market for all the 3 bedrooms, 2 baths over 2,000 square feet in a particular zip code that are 3 months behind on their mortgage. That's when the notice of default gets filed. All right. You can create that list and just keep marketing to them every single week. And there's some people on that list that are in denial, and their situation's going to get worse week over week over week. All right. But put this in your marketing plan. All right. Auction websites. I'm sure some of you guys have been to auctions.com. Hubzoo is one of them. 10X is another one of them. Good luck, folks. Everybody's looking at those. And you better have some liquid capital. Don't go in there trying to finance. Tax delinquent list, public records or of properties behind on property taxes. Just make sure you guys are looking at the right of redemption for that. If you can get somebody that wants to sell, most of the time, if they on these tax delinquent lists, if they wanted to sell, they would have did it already. But it's worth looking at. Pre-foreclosure list. Again, all of these things can be found in PropStream, Batch Leads, Deal Machine, REI Pro, or any of those software subscription platforms. All right. I think that's good for that. We have the vacant property list, but the post office doesn't always like to give it out because they were doing that. People were getting those vacant property lists and then breaking into all the vacant houses. Expired MLS listings. Yeah, if you have access to it, why not? All right. I'm going to scan for questions, and we're going to keep going because I'm going to have to knock off in about 30-something minutes. All right. So we're good there, and and we are good there. All right. Quick reset, folks. My name is Otis James, full-time real estate investor out of the San Francisco Bay Area. I was a mortgage broker for 13 years. Real estate broker in California, real estate broker in Georgia, licensed in insurance. I'm not in the insurance business. I'm a long-term hold investor and founder of the real estate investing educational platform called 4 Data Points Academy. I'm not going to go over all my credentials. I'm a real estate guy. All right, let's keep it going. All right, relationship-based outreach. So I broke these down into, and you guys, we talked about this yesterday. So you folks in our real estate family, I'm building the lesson out for this. We had a lesson called finding off-market deals. I didn't think it was comprehensive enough, so I'm going to I'm redoing it. I'm going to add some actual marketing plans in there for you guys that are in our real estate family. So we broke it down into categories: direct to seller, networks and relationships, landlord outreach. It's when I said, find landlords that don't want to be landlords anymore. And then online and data-driven methods. That's your PropStream, auctions.com, the USPS, the Postal Service, to see if you can get the vacant property list. They don't do it very much, so take it with a grain of salt. Now we're talking about relationship-based outreach. I don't know what it is, man. I didn't have my coffee this morning. All right, it's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who knows what you do. So those local RIAs, those real estate investment association meetups, go to those if you just want some traction, or you want some motivation, or you just want to ask questions. Find out where your local one is, become a member, and go to it. You're around like-minded individuals, and if you are investing in that area, then the likelihood of them having some connections that you can utilize is going to be in your favor. So definitely go out there. And, if you don't know what to say, just ask questions. The Chamber of Commerce, network with business owners who may have property needs, right? Businesses need roofs too, right? Funeral directors, a lot of people overlook funeral directors, but I'm going to put it on there because I know people that make money with funeral directors in their contact list. It's a sensitive subject, and so when you hear me say probate related connection, I'm talking about everybody involved in the probate process. So funeral directors, divorce attorneys. Most couples sell their homes during a split. Bankruptcy attorneys, past seller leads, right? Follow up on the previous owners that didn't sell last year. I'm telling you, a year is a long time to be struggling with some of these mortgage payments if you're trying to get off of them. Somebody will change their mind. So make sure you keep all of these people in your CRM so you can reach back out to them. Now, again, this is the stuff that nobody likes. This is the grind in real estate investing, right? Everybody loves getting a deal and flipping the house and doing all that stuff. But all of this admin work, this is what a lot of people aren't doing, because this is what's going to make you survive as a real estate investing company. Otherwise, you're just kind of an individual looking for the next deal constantly. So you got to have a system in place, like in any business, to drive revenue. And this is one of those systems. Creative advanced strategies. Now, I've got the creative strategies listed on this list, but these strategies require lessons of their own, and they all have lessons of their own. I just wanted to add them to this list so you can see what's possible, because they kind of tie into this finding off-market deals, right? So seller financing offers. Make sure you guys understand that even if you're doing seller financing, and this is how a lot of people get trapped, because a lot of new investors get real excited when they get that first deal, but they don't know how to assess a deal yet. So they end up obligating themselves to something that they can't get out of. So if you're going to be doing any seller financing, make sure you understand the importance of those 4 data points, ask those 4 questions, and make sure you can interpret the answers to determine whether or not this deal that you're looking at is in your buy box. Subject to or lease options. When you guys are doing subject to, make sure that, I'm not big on courses, because I don't think courses are enough to turn you into a seasoned real estate investor. But I would definitely say take a course on subject to, because that's where you can get in. That's probably the one that has the most amount of risk if it's not done right. So I offer that too, but I don't offer courses for the general public. I just have it as a study tool for the folks in our real estate family. And I have a lesson on that too. You guys in our real estate family, make sure you have that subject to lesson in your hand, and just reach out to me so we can look at it together, because I've seen a lot of people get in trouble with that. Lease options. Again, just along with any other strategy, just make sure that you run the 4 data points, ask those 4 questions to see how you can exit, if you can exit at all. Property management help. Yeah, the thing about property management companies, and when I reach out to them, I'm typically looking for, I'll ask them who the problem tenants are, but they're not going to want to work with me unless I can guarantee that they're going to be the ones to continue to manage the property. So what I'll do is I'll have a package that I'll send to them that they can send to their owners. And because these property management companies in their agreement to list the property when it sells, there's typically some compensation in there for them for that. So just if you guys need to reach out to property management companies, I have a template that I use. So I'll give it to you. All right. Bandit signs, reverse driving for dollars, leaving sticky notes and door hangers on distressed properties. That works, but keep in mind if they're distressed and they look abandoned, you don't know when they're going to pick up that sticky note. Look at the property in PropStream or one of these other platforms and send your correspondence to wherever the tax bill goes. All right. All right. Still another group. Financial trouble and legal filings. People that are in financial trouble or have had some filings with their name in it. It's all public record, folks. Bank-owned REO departments. So when you call the bank and you want to look at their inventory, well, good luck with that. Most of those situations are reserved for institutional investors. So let's say Bank of America has inventory of everybody that defaulted and they got all these properties. They're going to let one of these institutional investors come pick them up as a package deal. So it's really hard to get somebody on the phone if you're an individual going through the customer service line. All right? But if you are going to make the attempt, just make sure you ask for the asset manager. County lien list, you can get all that stuff through PropStream. Bankruptcy filings, you can get all that stuff through PropStream. Mechanics lien filings, you can get all that stuff through PropStream. So the reason why utilizing some of this software is so important is because it gets all these public records. Now, there's a lag time between when the public records are filed and when it shows up online in some areas. But invest in some of this software because it's going to be your greatest tool to be able to function as a real estate investor. Don't try to get around it. Right? It's going to cost you about $300, between $300 and $400 a month, just to be a real estate investor and have everything you need to be able to function. So if you don't have a disposable, $300 a month, then actually it's not going to cost $300 a month, maybe starting out. But you still need a website. eForms and Rocket Lawyer, pick one. They're just under $40 a month. PropStream is $99 a month, a little less if you go through my affiliate link. So just make sure that you guys understand that when you get into it, because you could learn. I could be the most savvy real estate investor in the world, but if I can't look at public records without me physically having to go down there, then one, I'm going to be stuck locally. And in order to be a seasoned real estate investor, you got to know how to invest all over the country without you having to be there. All right. So just get PropStream. I have an affiliate link. You guys reach out to me. I'll send you the link. You can get it for a couple dollars cheaper. All right. Commercial special property owners. All right. So you can check to see all the business licenses that expire that may indicate, a business is closing, triggering a real estate sale. Vacant landowners, you can find out through PropStream which ones are out of state and look for any ones that inherited some property. I get that all the time. Hey, I inherited, 700 acres in wherever. What should I do with it? Right. Niche owners, so mobile home parks, churches, and nonprofit property owners often go direct to buyer. So I've reached out to churches. I've reached out to mobile home park owners. I've reached out to just about everybody. And I've been able to establish some conversations, though many times not much has come to fruition. All right. So that is going to be the how to find off market deals. I'm going to add some scripts to that, and I'm going to add some scenarios so people can get some practice with that. Now, I've got this is going to be a short day for me because I got to get to work. I will be back on this afternoon. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship. Thursday, it's back to real estate. Friday, we're going to get back into personal development with a gentleman by the name of Dr. Alfred Smith. And we tried to do it last week, but it didn't work. The sound wasn't working. So we're going to try to do it this week. We're going to keep doing it until we get it. You guys on Clubhouse, that link to the 4 data points is at the top of my head. Before I close this room down, make sure you tap that so you can download it. You folks on TikTok, if you text the word now to that phone number above my head, I'll make sure you get the 4 data points guide and that explains to you how to assess a deal, what questions to ask, and how we interpret the answers to those questions. So if you text now to that number, I'll make sure you guys get it. I am going to shut down the live stream everywhere else. Now, if you guys still have some questions,